How's it going, Diablo fans? So I finished my final iteration of the Conjuration Frozen Orb build here, and it's really powerful. We can easily rush pits within like 2 to 230 minutes, and we can do the Uber bosses solo. We can just face tank them. We just regenerate life with Undying, so it's absolutely no problem. And the build plays absolutely amazing once you hit certain breakpoints. So this planner here is for kind of like endgame gear. Well, it's not really endgame gear, but you always have to try to hit like 1 or 2 specific stats with your master working to get this going. So you have like kind of high breakpoints in this build. But beside that, it works very amazing. You get through pits really fast. The bosses work just fine. In Hell Tides, you're like crazy fast because you have Conjurations everywhere. In this build, you have like up to 8 Hydras up at a time, so it is really Hydra raised. I switched to Serpentine aspect from other aspects now, and I'm playing a lot of Hydra stuff again. And it's all obviously powered by the Amulet, the Fractured Winterglass, but I don't want to talk too much about this build anymore. Pay attention to the section with the skills, because I explain how to use the skills and when to use which skill. And that is very important. Besides that, you can find all the sections of this guide in the description down below. Also, I leave you some tier 200 pits and some Uber bosses at the very end of the video. Also, make sure to check the planner in the description. Just a quick note on the planner. So the Mobalytics planner doesn't have the attributes for the new items yet. It is in the text of the planner, so there is which tempering attributes to get and which masterwork attributes, and for the weapon and the other slot you can see which attributes to pick. Also, you can see it in this video. I explain it actually pretty detailed. So that's it for the short introduction of this. So without further ado, let's go right into the skill tree. For the final version, we just put 2 into Firebolt to get access to the next area here. Then we max out Frozen Orb into Enhanced Frozen Orb and Destructive Frozen Orb. We don't need the Vulnerable from Greater Frozen Orb. It's gonna be handled by the Lightning Spears completely. Then we put 1 into Devastation and 3 into Elemental Dominance for the extra damage for the Frozen Orbs. Then 1 into Elemental Attunement, 3 into Glass Cannon. So we want to have +2 defensive skills on our chest piece. That's why we basically don't pick these 2 points. We just use Flame Shield and Teleport off those. And then we put 1 point into Ice Armor, 1 point into Enhanced Ice Armor, and 1 point into Mystical Ice Armor. This gives us an extra damage boost to frozen enemies and also gives us a little bit more chill, but I don't think the chill has any relevancy here. Then we put 1 into Hydra, 1 into Enhanced Hydra, 1 into Summoned Hydra, just for the little bit of extra damage here. Then 3 into Precision Magic, 1 into Align the Elements, 3 into Mana Shield. This is our damage reduction. We just put 1 into Protection now. We're mainly gonna use our barrier from Ice Armor, which is going to be up all the time, so we don't really need this. If you struggle with surviving, definitely go into Protection and remove some stagger from Snap Freeze here. Then 1 into Ice Blades, 1 into Enhanced Ice Blades, 1 into Summoned Ice Blades, 1 into Lightning Spear, 1 into Enhanced Lightning Spear, and 1 into Invoke Lightning Spear. 3 into Conjuration Mastery, the other 3 are coming from our Amulet. 1 into Icy Veil and 3 into Snap Freeze. So if you have high lucky hit, Snap Freeze will do more stagger. This is just for staggering bosses basically. If you have high lucky hit, like let's say 80% plus, you use Snap Freeze, otherwise you would use Cold Front. Then 1 into Inner Flame, 3 into Devouring Blaze, 3 into Permafrost, 3 into Hoarfrost, 3 into Icy Touch, no ultimates, and then we use Shatter. If you are not struggling with trash mobs whatsoever, you can run Avalanche. So Avalanche does more boss damage, but Shatter gives you more trash mob damage. And I feel like at the tier 200 ones, I want to have a little bit more damage for the trash mobs, and I'm going to tell you why. Because we are not running Firebolt enchantment anymore. So we're going to go back to this in the next section. You can still play Firebolt enchantment if you want and then switch back into Avalanche. But without Firebolt enchantment, we definitely need Shatter. Otherwise, we don't have enough damage to clear the trash. For the skills, we use Frozen Orb and we want to spam Frozen Orb. So you always want to spam Frozen Orb. You never do not cast Frozen Orb. No matter if there's mobs, no matter if there's no mobs, you always cast Frozen Orb. You want to have your Conjurations up all the time. Don't stop casting Frozen Orbs ever. So that's why I highly recommend put it on a key binding, like I have it on Q. If you put it on right mouse, for example, and you're gonna move with left mouse and click with right mouse, you're gonna have a very hard time. So I highly recommend putting this on a hotkey. Then Ice Blades. Ice Blades is your friend in this, okay? Ice Blades enables a lot of cooldown reduction and a lot of bonus damage, and it has a high lucky hit chance, and it triggers a crazy amount of frozen orbs. So always use Ice Blades on cooldowns. Do not let down on Ice Blades. Really, if Ice Blades comes up, hammer that button. Just go Ice Blades. Always Ice Blades first priority. Then Teleport, just for teleporting. Flame Shield, you mainly want to use this when the Shadow Clones are about to do damage when the boss fights happen. So the boss fight is going to spawn a Shadow Clone, then it's going to take about, let's say 5 to 10 seconds, and then the Shadow Clone is going to attack. And before the Shadow Clone attacks, you want to use Flame Shield. You're going to get used to that once you tried a couple of these bosses. Then we put Hydra on our bar. We want to always cast Hydra, but don't excessively cast Hydra. During the trash clearing, you technically don't really need cast Hydra. Just cast it, every like 3 or 4 screen sizes moving forward. Just cast 3 new Hydras. On the bosses, you want to recast Hydras pretty much every like 12 seconds, somewhere around this. You gotta get a feeling for this. And then Ice Armor gives us a damage buff, and it's also up 100% of the time, and it gives us a nice barrier. Even though the barrier is low, you can get more barrier by attacking. And then for our enchantments, we use Hydra enchantment now in the final version. It does not trigger burn enough on trash mobs. So trash mobs are not going to be burning pretty much ever. So that's why we use Shatter now, okay? If you want to use Firebolt enchantment, that's perfectly fine. Just for the very high end, you want to use Hydra because it gives you significantly more Conjurations. And the Conjurations will give you additional damage and fire frozen orbs. So this is solely for boss fighting, and it really makes a big difference. And then second enchantment slot is Frozen Orb enchantment. I tried all the other ones. I tried Meteor and everything. I just feel like Frozen Orb is still gonna give me the most bang for my buck here. So for the items, we use a helmet, and we want to hit lucky hit, cooldown reduction, and intelligence. You want to hit at least 1 lucky hit. If you can hit 2 lucky hits, you're going to be golden, but hitting 1 lucky hit, I would highly recommend. We put the aspect of fortune on here to get even more lucky hit. And then for our tempering, we want to have crowd control duration and maximum life. The chest piece here, we're gonna pick Juggernaut's aspect. You gotta have a high roll because you wanna reach the armor cap. And then you wanna have intelligence, maximum life, and plus defensive skills. Plus defensive skills is important. It just saves you 2 skill points in the skill tree, and we're really min-maxing here. And then again, you wanna get crowd control duration and maximum life, and you wanna hit intelligence and max life with your masterworking. Then for our bracers, we get attack speed, critical strike chance, and ranks of Frozen Orb. You want to try to hit attack speed and critical strike or Frozen Orb. Like, I'm pretty sure like everything you can hit here is very nice. It almost depends on the breakpoint. Just try to get the 85% attack speed breakpoint, so you gotta balance your offensive items out a bit, but in general, you wanna hit those right here. Then you wanna have a damage on here, and you wanna have the chance to immobilize or whatever on here. It doesn't really matter how much percent, this is pretty bad, it would be better to have a better one, but it helps with staggering again, so just get one of these immobilize imprints here. And we put the Storm Swell aspect for extra damage. For your pants, you wanna get intelligence, maximum life armor, and you want to have 1% armor roll tempered on here. And the other row where I have barrier generation doesn't matter at all. We put the undying aspect, which really helps us regenerating our life while we are like speed pushing. And also like versus bosses, we don't really want to press potions. We just regenerate our life basically instantly since we have a crazy high attack speed. And again, you want to try to hit the maximum life or intelligence. It's better to hit more intelligence, obviously, but you cannot get them all, right? And then we want to have Asus boots. Again, it's nice if you hit the critical strike damage or the mana cost reduction. The other ones do not really matter at all. We're going to have maximum movement speed from our Conjuration mastery regardless. And yeah, try to have a high critical strike chance roll on this here, obviously. Then for our wand, you want to have intelligence, maximum life, and attack speed here. You want to hit intelligence or attack speed. You don't want to really hit maximum life on offensive items ever. So basically, you want to hit life on all defensive items, and all on all offensive items. You want to hit offensive stats. That's pretty much the matter. And then you want to have flat damage, and you want to have chance of frozen orb, and you want to hit at least once. So if you masterwork this, just get yourself one chance of frozen orb here. It's very important. And then we put the Serpentine aspect here to get one extra Hydra. We were playing a damage aspect before, but we're changing it to Hydra because we're gonna actually have 2 to 3 extra Hydras up by doing this, and that's actually gonna give us, first of all, 18% more damage, which is almost an aspect. But the Hydras, now as we have higher lucky hit, they really do a lot. Like, they cast a crazy amount of frozen orbs. For our focus, we want to have crit chance, lucky hit chance, cooldown reduction, and you again want to hit the damage stat, and you want to hit the frozen orb again. You ideally want to hit the frozen orb one with the masterworking, but since I got 2 on the lucky hit chance, I'm really not going to reroll this one here. And then we put on the aspect of frozen orbit. This gives us extensive extra frozen orb damage. Then for our ring, you want to get maximum life, attack speed, lucky hit chance. You can get crit instead of maximum life here. I guess that would be the better roll here. And for the rolls, you want to hit at least 1 lucky hit. Then for the tempering, we get the normal damage, and we get resource generation on hit. This is technically not the best. There's better ones, but I don't have better words available at this point. And then you also want to put an accelerating aspect. Then we go for Tarasha Ring. Again, here you want to hit lucky hit and cooldown reduction. Most likely, the 12% is not so great, but mainly, again, focus on lucky hit here. And then, last but not least, our Fractured Winterglass. You want to hit Conjuration Mastery once to get the +3. So if you masterwork this, get one of the Conjuration Masteries. You cannot see it, it's not colored in blue, but you need to hit it once to get the +3. And then after that, you want to hit cooldown reduction, basically. Try to get the high lucky hit chance. The frozen orb chance is, I would say, the less important. The more important is the bottom one. Lucky hit Conjurations have a chance to spawn a frozen orb. Then as for our gems, you basically use diamonds to fix your resistances. If you have more intelligence, you can probably use just skulls. And we use rubies. If you do boss fights, you can use intelligence for gems, but you still want to have like a good enough life pool. So I use rubies right now. But if you're bossing and you put intelligence in all of them, you can basically get like a 30% extra damage buff or something like that. So definitely consider that before you go head into like boss fights. And then we just use emeralds for vulnerable damage here. This is the best multiplier we can get. So let's talk a little bit about breakpoints. So very important for this build is if you hit certain breakpoints, it's going to become extremely powerful. So most important breakpoint is the first breakpoint you want to get is 85% attack speed. I have 83, but it's good enough. You want to get 85. And then you're going to use the elixir of advantage here for the missing 15%. 100% is the attack speed cap, so you cannot go over that other than with, skills like accelerating aspect or unstable currents. So 85% attack speed is the first cap you want to go. Then you want to go for like roughly 35 to 40% crit without Asus. It is a little more here, as you can see, because of the dexterity. But as you can see, the Asus just has 5.9 because we don't have any movement speed buffs. But this is a good crit breakpoint, so I guess it's like 45%-ish. You can definitely go a bit lower, but I would consider this a good crit breakpoint. Everything after that goes into lucky hit chance. So everything spare, you want to have lucky hit chance. So I have 100% plus 24% plus 15% from the elixir. So this is 150%, 140% lucky hit chance, and this really spawns a crazy amount of conjurations. It really matters. So everything go for lucky hit. And then cooldown reduction, 40% roughly is a good value here. You don't want to extremely go over with cooldown reduction because you're going to have ice blades, which is going to, handle most of your cooldown reduction anyway. And then for the defensive ones, you basically want to get like 25% 5k plus life that helps you to, you know, survive certain one-shot mechanics. You want to have 19k plus armor. I know the spreadsheet tells you you want to only have like 16.7k, but it's not enough. You're going to die. So trust me, just get like around 19k armor here. So this is a good breakpoint for this build. For the Paragon, we now tweaked it very specifically. We pretty much removed most of the health nodes since we don't really need them. We would like to have them, but we cannot afford them because we need to pick very specific skills here. So first of all, we use Winter for the multiplicative damage here mainly and to boost our non-fizz damage and resistances here. Then we move over to the Enchantment Master board. We just pick this little node here with the max life. And then we put in our Elementalist glyph for 15% extra damage and again to boost these non-fizz and resistance nodes. Moving over, this is Burning Instinct. We just used this for the Tactician glyph, and we want to pick up all this damage reduction from burning with the Tactician glyph. The damage to burning is also nice, but the damage reduction from burning with the Tactician glyph is basically the best damage reduction we can get here. So mobs which are going to do damage are always going to be burning, so we're going to have a nice little amount of damage reduction from this here. Then we also get the damage reduction from elites here. We do not pick the armor nodes. Then we go over to the next board, that is going to be the Frigid Fate. We pick the node here for the maximum damage. We put the lucky hit here, very important. We really need to stack as much lucky hit as possible. We get the damage reduction from vulnerable here, and then we slot in our exploit glyph here, again for the multiplicative damage. Then we're going over to the Elemental Summoner board. We just pick this for the Conjurer glyph here. We pick up the resistances and just go over to the next board. Conjurer glyph, we don't need the damage, we just use it for the 20% increased Conjuration duration, because that keeps our Conjuration mastery stacks being higher consistently, sorry. And then we move over to the next board, Searing Heat. We just pick this for the glyph socket, Flame Feeder here for the 10%, just once again, we don't care about the additives. And then next board, Ceaseless Conduit. We just pick the glyph socket here again, this is for destruction, multiplicative damage and additive damage here. And the last board is going to be the Icefall. We pick this for the frost damage. And we're going to pick the Cryomancy here. And we're going to pick these chill nodes. So you really want to get everything you can get in regards of stagger. The most difficult thing about the tier 200 pits and the other bosses is you want to stagger them as fast as possible. So in general, the chill application nodes really help a lot when staggering bosses.